No.
I could if you need me to.
Yeah, that'd be lovely. Thank you.
Whakataka tahau ki te uru, whakataka tahau ki te tonga, kia mā kina ki uta, kia mā taratara ki tai, e hi aki ana te atakura, he tio, he hoka, he hauhu, te hei Māori ora.
Kia ora. Ka pai, Digby. Thank you. So we've got a few people here for the public forum, which is great. So what I might do, first of all, because we've got members of the public here, is go around members and councillors just to introduce themselves first so that they know who we are. So I'll just call everybody's name out in turn. Grace, so that you can introduce yourselves.
Yes, hi, I'm Grace. I'm one of the Democracy Advisors for Waikato District Council.
You're Grace. Sean? You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute, Sean. No, he's still on mute. So that's.
Sorry, I'm just trying to sort Bronwyn out. Sean Jackson, Deputy Chair, ODCB, and local Tuaca resident.
Carolyn?
Evening all, Ward Councillor for Onewhero-Tuakau.
You're right. Stephanie?
Good evening. Apologies if I keep coming and going. Stephanie Henderson, Aquatic Center, Ward Councillor.
Kia ora, Stephanie, and we know you have a little bit of trouble with your internet connection, so welcome. Candy?
Kia ora, Candy Nātaki Onewhero-Tuakau Community Board.
You're right. Jackie? Oh, Jackie's gone.
I'm here.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, just trying to find my mute. So sorry. Yeah, so I'm visitor to the community board, kia ora, or Koto, and I'm a Aquatic-Tuakau ward councillor with Councillor Henderson, and here to just listen. Thank you.
Kia ora. Gayleen? I'm sure Gayleen's there.
Kia ora, I'm Gayleen Kanawa. I'm the Democracy Team Leader for Waikato District Council. I'll have to have my camera off, Caroline, because my internet is rubbish out at Kawhia.
No, that's fine. Sue? Sue?
Yeah, hi, Sue O'Gorman. I'm the General Manager for Customer Support at Waikato District Council, and I'm the Executive Support Member for the Onewhero-Tuakau Community Board.
Great, and I'll get Jenny. Jenny, would you like to introduce yourself and introduce your team from Waikato?
Kia ora koutou, I'm Jenny Wild, the Comms and Engagement Advisor for Kotahi on the Papakura Drury project. And with me tonight for our presentation is Ash Mitchell, who you mentioned before, he's the project manager on Fulton Hogan with the project. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to go over to one of our first public forum people. So Rebecca Bills, you're the principal at Onewhero School. Over to you. You've got 10 minutes.
I'm just gonna share my screen with you. Cool. Tēnā koutou, ko Rebecca Bills tuku ingoa no Onewhero ahau, ko tumuaki mō te akura o Onewhero. So good evening everyone, I'm Rebecca Bills and I live in Onewhero. I'm also the principal at Onewhero Area School. This is our kura and I'm here tonight to talk to you about our road. So my purpose in meeting with you is to engage you in a conversation about the road safety on our road, particularly at pick-up and drop-off times. In particular, I'd like to highlight some of our concerns around our students, and my hope is that through this conversation, it can continue at council level so that we can ensure when our school grows in the next few years that we don't have any major incidences with our students on our roads. So this is our road. This photo was taken at a time when we didn't actually have any students on site, but it gives you an idea of what our road looks like. So we have approximately 130 metres of roading, in which 100 students exit our school every day and enter the school every morning. Unlike urban schools, we don't have roads around us that can spread our parents out. And a lot of the roads around the school don't have proper footpaths or anything like that. So walking to the other areas of the school becomes quite challenging for our kids. Amongst that, we've got 400 kids leaving on buses, 2 of which travel up this road in the direction the picture is taken on. The other 4 do a U-turn in the rugby ground turnaround bay and travel back down the other road. And all of this happens in about 20 minutes. So you can imagine it's pretty full, pretty packed, and there's not a lot of room around. We don't have a footpath on the rugby ground side of the road, so there's a crossing where this picture is, and our kids cross the road, but they walk along the road to get down to the cars that are parked on the far side of the road. So our concerns are around the congestion at the gate. It's a lot of cars in a short space of time. The safety of our students crossing over to the cars. The cars parked in the angled parking reverse out, and they reverse going in either direction down the road, and they can't actually see. So when you're in those car parks, you cannot see up the road, you cannot see down the road. They literally just have to pull out and hope that someone slows down. And of course, the buses turning around across the road as well. We do have some ideas. We're not just here to talk about the things that we have issues with. So we did think about having a drop-off zone for the kids so that parents are pulling in and then heading off in the direction they've pulled in, and so they're not having to reverse. Making the street one way, or making it a no U-turn so that cars can't cross, go in different directions. Putting a footpath on the rugby ground side of the road so that the kids, when they cross the road, actually have a footpath to walk down rather than the road. Reducing the speed limit and having signage for that. We actually don't have any signage around speed limits for around schools in our area. And putting in parking across the opposite side to the hall, which if we put angled parking in there would not only help the school with parking, but would also help people who are using the hall or OSPA who run events, which is on that side of the road as well. The important part to note is that our role is projected to grow. The ministry predicts that in the next couple of years, our school will be at 618 students with 3 new subdivisions going in the area. This means there's going to be an increase in students walking to school and an increase in the number of cars picking kids up at the school gate. But I know things take time. So I thought if we start talking about it now, then by the time we get to that 618 kids, then hopefully we'll have a solution in place ready to cope for it. So what we'd like from you is your support to get our voice to the council, to get them starting looking at solutions so that we can be ahead of that projected role growth rather than waiting for it to be too bad and then starting to deal with it. So that's it. Any questions?
Thank you. Rebecca, do you want to, that's it, yeah, that's great, stopping the screen sharing, then we can see everybody. I'd also just like to welcome Bronwyn Watson, who's joined since we did introduction. So Bronwyn's also one of the community board members. Carolyn, you've got your hand up.
Oh, thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you for that really.
Carolyn?
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you, Rebecca, for that very comprehensive slideshow. Look, I've evidenced it actually myself as well, having gone up and viewed on a wet pickup afternoon, and without a doubt it is an accident waiting to happen. As such, I have requested that the road safety engineer, Garth Bellamy, come out and view as well. That was supposed to happen last week, but hasn't as yet. I understand that he's hoping to get there this week. But just as a suggestion, I wonder if we could leave it potentially on our actions register or on our work plan, just so we continue to get informed with the thoughts from the road engineer. Probably just further to note as well, obviously the speed amendment by law took effect, that resolution was passed in council last month. So the reduction for speed on that portion of the road will take effect. That goes down to 40. But from what I can understand, it's probably more than just a speed reduction required. It's more about safety measures.
So when there's cars parked on both sides of the road, there's only actually room for one car to get down. So it effectively becomes almost like it's one way because they can't actually pass. There's not enough room.
Thanks for that, Rebecca. I'll just see if there's any other questions first, and then I'll get an update from, so I'll open Sue. I'll give Sue the speaking so that Sue can explain the best way that we can take this forward from now. If there's no further questions, no. Okay, Sue, how's the best way for us to
Well, I think that Councillor Eyre has already activated exactly what I would have done anyway, which was have a chat with the road safety engineer, Gareth. Obviously, he's going to come out and have a look, so that's good. And I think the other suggestion to keep it on, we'll put it on we'll create an action on the action list. And so service delivery sees that each time. And if they've got any updates or whatever, then it just keeps it on the board's radar. But it also keeps it on their radar. It might be that the solution might be, 6 months to a year away, but at least if it's there and you have come in advance of that, and we can also find out when that 40K will actually go live, because I think the bylaw passed about a week ago, was that right? And it usually takes a while for them to actually activate that, get the signage up, and actually change the speed limit. So I think we can find out when that's going to happen, because at least that it's not going to reduce it, but it might mitigate some of the risk, obviously. Yeah. So I think we're probably on the right track with what we've discussed.
All right, you're happy with that, Rebecca?
Yes, thank you very much, and thank you for letting me attend. No,
that's great. And just keep us in the loop if you don't hear back from the road safety person. All right, that's great.
No problem.
So
cool. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Kim. So welcome, Kim. Again, you've got 10 minutes.
Thanks for that. I probably won't need 10 minutes, to be honest. I thought, I haven't actually been to the OTCB community board meeting before, and I'm surprised at how many familiar faces there are. I thought there would be quite a few strangers, but I find myself surrounded by people I've already met before, which is fantastic. So hello to all of you who I haven't seen for a couple of months. It's been a while. And for those of you I haven't met, so my name's Kim. I used to work in the parks team, open spaces team at Waikato District Council. I was the open spaces project coordinator for 8 months or so. And prior to that, I was working as a parks officer. What I'm doing now, if you're wondering why I'm here, is I've just started a new role. So I'm now the branch manager at Citycare. So I'm assuming most of you have heard of Citycare, or if you haven't, you've probably seen us around anyway. So we are the Parks and Reserves maintenance contractor for Waikato District Council. So we are up in your area and we look after all of the Parks and Reserves. I guess the reason I wanted to come on board is just to introduce myself and say hello. I'm hoping I can come along sort of quarterly to these meetings just to, keep tabs on things. If there's anything you guys wanted to sort of flag up and say, hey, this isn't working so well. If, you feel like maybe you're not getting heard in the right channels, I'm always here. So I wanted to make sure you know who I am. Carolyn's got my email. So new email address. So yeah, please don't email me at council. I've had that happen a few times and my email just bounces. So if you do have any parks and reserves questions around maintenance. So we do, for example, we do sports field line marking. So I know you guys have been having a few issues around that recently. So we've been keeping tabs on that, and I am abreast on that conversation. So we are working on solutions in that space. But so sports field line marking, sports field mowing of parks and reserves in general, playgrounds maintenance. We don't do trees, but we do shrub gardens, annual bedding, rubbish bin emptying inside the parks, not on the roads, but in the parks. So we do a whole bunch of different stuff. So if you see something you do think is not looking quite right, and you can't get hold of the parks officers over at council, feel free to get in touch with us. We are here. And the other thing I wanted to just sort of sing out about is this year, part of our business plan for the next 12 months, one of our key focuses is looking at how we can better support our communities. So Citycare's values are we care, we deliver, and we discover. So part of it is that we want to partner with our communities better. And some of that stuff might be really simple. So an example of what we've done this week, we have, when we do annual bedding, we have spare bedding plants. So if a car runs over the bedding, we've got stuff left over that we can sort of fill it in with. But we always end up with extra stuff. And it's at that time now where if it doesn't get planted, it goes to waste. So all the annual bedding spares are being handed out to community groups, which is really cool. And that's only a little thing, but we do other stuff as well. So, you know, planting days, we're working with Huntley College at the moment. They have a gateway program for horticulture and landscape design. So they've recently been working with some of our planting projects that we're doing. And they've done some landscape design, and then they'll be doing work experience with us. So we'd love to do more stuff like that. So if you guys hear anything, please do let us know. We'd be super keen to get involved. Even if you've just got inquiries, do let us know. So if you've got any questions, please fire away.
That's great. Oh, yeah, Ben's got a question. Thanks, Kim. It's nice that you come along and introduce yourself. So that's great. Ben?
Yeah, hi there, Kim.
Hey, long time no see. How's that pile of dirt looking? Have we got to that yet?
No, nothing's changed, but we're on it. Hey, look, fantastic that you're still there and that we can work with you. Look, the local Rotary or Rotarians are doing a planting day through the college down at River Plantings, but we would welcome anything. We've got a very strong group through the college for plantings. I can certainly forward to you a phone number and a contact address.
Yeah, absolutely. What we'd really love to do is, it sounds like that's something they do annually, maybe?
Yeah, they're growing a lot at the school.
Awesome, yeah. So we'd love to tie in with stuff that we can do, like rather than ad hoc stuff, but something that we can tie into on a regular basis so we can actually grow that support. Oh, that sounds cool. I'd love that. Thanks, Ben.
Okay.
That's great. Carolyn?
Thank you. Hi, Kim. Nice to see you. It's such a loss to council, but it's great that you're still at Citycare and we can remain in touch. Just wanted to reiterate that any issues that may pertain to like the parks and rec, we still log and encourage those residents to log service requests through council. As much as it'd be nice to short track it through directly to you. Still maintain that service request process. Be great.
Yeah,
Thanks,
so absolutely. Service requests, probably the best way to get stuff done. A lot of service requests actually come straight through to us rather than going to parks officers, depending on the nature of it. So you may just get us straight away. But I guess it's things like, you know, maybe you've noticed, oh, you know, these shrub gardens are looking a bit messy, or hey, like, you know, there's a couple of dead plants in this garden. Does Citycare know that they're there? You can always touch base with us because we do infill planting and stuff like that. A lot of what we do is what we call, it's called under 500s. So it's unscheduled reactive work that it just gets done because it needs to get done. It's not so expensive that it needs approval from council. So things like graffiti removal, what else? Like broken branches, just, you know, stuff that, little things that just need fixing up. You know, that stuff, if you put a service request in, it comes straight through to us. But, you know, if you feel like stuff's not getting done properly, like, please do sing out. You know, we love to hear it.
Yeah, hi, Kim. Good to see you. Just to say also, just following on for that conversation around the service request we're doing a service request transformation project at the moment. And what we're doing is we're connecting directly with Citycare, Alliance and Watercare, so that there's not that, so that you're basically going to be using our system. There'll be the stronger connectivity. So like you said, some of them come straight through to you. I think over time, they will all come straight through. So there's not that intermediary kind of process required. So that's a piece of work we're working on at the moment. So you should see some real improvements, hopefully over time in that whole service request area.
That's awesome. Thanks, Sue. That's going to make such a difference.
Yeah, no, it should, hopefully. Touch wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Kim. Just another point you just raised about the graffiti. Do you work with the graffiti removal group here in Tuaca through the business association with the funding that we receive from council?
So no, we don't actually, but that's a really good point. Like maybe there's something we can do in that.
Absolutely.
Place.
Okay,
yeah, so
I'll give
I
you
know
the details.
That there's, I don't know how that's progressing because when I left, they were still trying to iron out all the paperwork.
No,
so
we got the funding. Funding's all resolved. Yeah, all done. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, by all means, we'd love to connect with them. I haven't got the problem.
I'll get
from council. I lost all my contact details for people.
Okay, no worries. We'll get to you. Thanks.
Awesome.
So just picking up on, I think, the point that Carolyn raised about the need to put in service requests first. So if any of the board members identify something that needs doing or want to initiate a project, they'll put the service request in first. Then after that initial contact, then they can contact you directly. Is that right, Sue?
Yeah.
We don't want to upset the contract.
Yeah.
Yeah, great.
Sorry, I probably should have been a bit clearer. It's more about if you see things that are sort of, systemic, I guess would be the word. So like, I don't know, say you're constantly seeing like windrows. Do you guys know what windrows are? You know, when the mower, like if the wet grass gets mown, you get big clumpy lumps on the mowing, stuff like that. If you're seeing it everywhere, like instead of just one spot, just things like that, you can put a service request in, absolutely, that would be great. But if you've seen it in like 20 different places, you're probably going to be wasting your time logging 20 service requests. Does that kind of clear things up? Sorry, I was a bit
no, that's fine. That's great, Kim. So no, it's lovely that you've come along. So yeah, you're very welcome to come along, like you say, quarterly, just to touch base. If there's any, because sometimes there's just little things that people don't necessarily want to put a service request in for, but if you're along for a meeting and you're just updating us, then sometimes it's a good chance to raise something little, like you say, that sort of thing. So that's great. Yeah, it's lovely to touch base. So thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah.
That's great.
Yeah.
I'd just like to, I just noticed as Jonathan Lovett too has joined the meeting. I think Jonathan may have dropped off while we were doing introductions. Jonathan, did you want to introduce yourself?
I was just hanging around. But yeah, I think most people know me, Jonathan from Onewhero. And hi, Kim, how are you going? Nice to see you there as well.
You too, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll catch up at some point.
Sounds good.
Yeah, thank you.
No, great. Thanks, Jonathan. And thanks, Kim. And we move to our
take off now, if that's okay.
No, lovely. Thank you, Kim. That was great.
Carolyn and Sean have my email. So yeah, please do get in touch with me. Any community stuff that you might think.
Yeah, I think I've got your email as well, because I think you emailed me about the coming to tonight's meeting as well. So so plenty of us have got your email. That's great.
Thanks, guys. Good seeing you.
That's great.
Bye.
Bye. And we'd just like to welcome our final people tonight for the public forum. So we've got Digby and Jason, isn't it? Yeah. So welcome. So 10 minutes, Digby.
Thank you. Yeah. Oh, hi there. I've also got a little bit of a PowerPoint which I'll share if I can. My name's Digby, and I'm pretty well involved in the Tuaca sporting community. And this for this meeting, I would like to just to do a little proposal about what we're doing down at the Light Body Reserve club rooms down on Escotts Road. So here we go. This one is the one, I think. So can you? It's not that one. Can you see my screen now? Is this playing now? Just got to try it. Press play without. There we go. Can you see this?
Got it.
Yep.
Is that it? Okay, so what we're doing down at the club rooms down there, they're a bit run down. They've been run down for a long time now. We've got a group of people who I recognise quite a few amongst your committee as well, who work in that we call ourselves the Tuaca Combined Sports Community Club Society. Tuaca Combined Sports Society, and we represent all the sporting clubs that join together down there to use the facilities, use the fields, use the lights. So we would like to renovate the building. It's been a long time since it's had some love spent on it. Our society was set up just to use the reserve to allocate the resources that it's got to deal with the council, and these are the clubs that we represent. So we represent quite a large part of the community. Tuaca Rugby Club, the Tuaca League Club, the Soccer Club, the Athletics Club, the Tuaca Terribles, Summer Soccer, Pookie Gym Sports has been used the club rooms. Tuaca Youth Centre big users of the club rooms, and we have had other clubs that have used it from time to time. So overall, we represent well over 1,000 members of the local community and then their associated families. So the club rooms as they stand at the moment, you might have noticed them as you go up towards Riverside Grove. They look a lot better than they have done in recent years, because when we approached the developer who was developing Riverside Grove, he gave us some money to paint the exterior and put up a few signs. So that's good. It looks a bit better from the roadside, but unfortunately on the inside it's still pretty tired and dated. So so we've done a survey for our members, and this is what they sort of say about the inside of the club rooms using it. That it's not very welcoming. They're very tired, old, they're run down. They're not open. People don't want to use them because it's a chicken egg scenario of they're not very nice inside, so no one wants to use them. So not very many people are interested in doing anything about that because they don't really use them. So 90% of the respondents said they'd use the club rooms more often if it was renovated, which is pretty obvious. So what our plan is, we've come up with a bit of a plan for rejigging things around in there. We've taken out the bar because it's more of a focus on the kids lately in the last few years, and a lot of the senior clubs have got links with the Tuaca Cozy Club, but there is some clubs that would still like a bar put back in there. But we've got a valuation, or we've got a budget for the renovation of, well, we think between sort of $350,000 to $400,000. So we've got our work cut out for us. But once they're renovated, we think that they'll be a usable space, that a lot more clubs will want to use them. They will be able to hire them out for functions, for sporting events, and we're actually one of the main rooms in there we want to do up as a usable sporting space, so that you can have an indoor game of football or cricket or bowls or petanque or whatever. So it'll actually be usable in there for a sport. So basically what I've come to ask you guys for is that any contribution or perhaps some expertise that you can put us in touch with people who can perhaps contribute towards the seed money that we need for it. Anything you can do would be appreciated. I did have a slide here of what our other plans are. Oh, here we go. We missed that somehow. So Jason Marconi's here tonight to talk with me, and he's already through the Waikato Council. He's pledged $50,000 towards the project and seed funding. Here's our wish list for you. Perhaps you can do that amount there, or perhaps anything up to that, or even more. Who knows? But we would appreciate anything that you guys can do, or anyone you can put us in touch with to also help start our journey to get the club rooms renovated. and we've got some money there that we're keen to contribute, and then we're going to be hitting up the other funders. We've had a good relationship with the NZCT in the past. Those lights in the background, we've just recently finished the lighting project and raised nearly $400,000 for new lights down there, and 150,000 of that came through the NZCT. Foundation North is somewhere we're keen to hit up, and then there's the DIA who we've got contacts with as well. So yeah, like we say, dream scenario is about $400,000 is what we'll need to make that those club rooms really nice and inviting on the inside. And yeah, hopefully the youth of our town can get that sort of level of benefit out of it. We're keen to work with these funders, not just to get the money and run. We're keen to give back to whoever wants to be involved with us. So that's my pitch. Thank you very much. How do I stop?
Thanks, Digby. So we'll just see if there's any questions. Yeah, it's good to stop sharing because then we can see everybody's hands up as well. Makes it a bit easier. So has anybody got any questions? Jason, you've got your hand up.
Yeah. Not so much a question, more a comment. So I guess I'm involved in this because the development of a sport and recreation facility is recognised as a top priority in the blueprint process, which sort of first gave me my doorway into this project. I think collaborating with the community board with some sort of funding proposal to these funders shows that there's a really good support from the community for this project, which is why it's important we have as many sort of partners, funding partners as possible. And I don't know, Digby, we did talk about perhaps asking the board for a letter of support to support our funding application. We're meeting with Foundation North this week, and so we want to have a little bit in our pocket to show them that there's widespread support for this facility, and yeah, so I think it's a worthwhile project, and hopefully you guys do too, and we'd love to partner up with you and have a really good presentation to these funders. The other thing is this is stage one for this for Light Body for this facility. So, we really want to get this under our belt. And then as your town grows, we can start to develop further into more sort of bigger, grander plans. But in the interim, we'll be building these relationships with these funding organisations. So this is a really important part of the mid to long term as well in that regard. Thanks.
Thanks, Jason. Jason, do you want to just clarify what your role is? Because I presume you're
so I'm a community-led development advisor. So my role is to help communities lead their own projects around the blueprints or community aspirations if they haven't had a blueprint, and then help them through capability building and capacity building, but also I have budget to seed fund when it's needed.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Now I've got a question from Carolyn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thanks for that great presentation, Digby. It's certainly an impressive venue, without a doubt. My query is, was this identified as a priority in your local area blueprint firstly, my first question, it was?
It's been on the radar for the council for a very long time, like dating back right to the Franklin Council, but I can't really bring out where it's actually been earmarked.
I think
recently.
Jason indicated it was a priority. Jason,
yes.
Yeah, you might
sorry to jump in,
yeah.
guys. Tuaca 4.3, develop a sports and recreation facility identified as a top priority by the Tuaca community.
Oh, thank you, Jason.
Fabulous. And just my second question, in terms of a breakdown of your budget, and I guess it's just sort of in terms of the process tonight, are we, and probably a question more for Chair, are we considering this as a funding application in its current?
No, this is just a presentation. It's not on the agenda to be considered tonight. So that's what we'll talk to. That's what we'll talk to Digby about the process in terms of that.
Right.
Yep. I understand this is very early days. We've only just got Jason on board with some seed funding, and yeah, we're just really looking for a little bit more before we've all our quotes and things were all done before COVID, and so they're relatively out of date. So we're just really getting the ball rolling at the moment, and thought we'd present to you guys because you've got your finger on the pulse of what's happening locally. So, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah, no, it's helpful, Digby, to come tonight and do that initial presentation because it sets a context really. So that's great. But there is, if you're, I'm sure Jason will help you with the application process, but there is a form through council that you'll need to do an application, which will then come to the community board for consideration as part of our discretionary funding. So the advantage now, there is no like opening and closing dates for applications. You just, when you're ready, just send it to us. So that's good. So Jackie, you've got your hand up.
Yes, thank you through Madam Chair. Digby, the Wellbeing Trust has money, so I can talk to you about that offline, and Jason will be aware of that as well.
Awesome, thank you.
And the point of that is, and also Sean will know a lot about this because they provided I'm the chair of the Wellbeing Trust, but we provided the seed funding, which is quite hard to get the scoping around the information to actually go to funders and to prove that you've got your 1,000 people and why it's needed and all that sort of stuff. That's hard money to find. And that's why the Wellbeing Trust actually seed funded that for the skate park. Okay, so yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jackie. I think Vern had his hand up. Vern?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Digby, Jason, some time ago, quite a number of us all met down there with Kim from Parks and Reserves at that point. And that meeting identified quite a lot of things that council were looking at that point, coupled with this whole program. I'm not sure now that Kim has moved on where things are, other than the fact that Gavin Bensaman was following up on that particular meeting. I think that's a very important part of the process that the rest of the community board should have a little understanding of.
Yep. That program that Kim presented, I understand there are various stages of that underway. But the main thing about that is that they're all outside, they're all around the reserve. And so nothing really, the council have sort of pushed the actual club rooms back to the society. You know, they want the people who are using it to be driving this process. And so the renovations of the inside is sort of something that we have to do ourselves, whereas all the surrounding area, that's sort of more council's remit.
Sean?
Yeah, thanks, Digby and Jason. Great stuff. Just to add there too, so the club rooms aren't council owned. They're on lease, lease land for $5 a year or whatever it is. So the club themselves pay the insurance and all the maintenance and bits and pieces. I just thought that was worth mentioning.
That's great. Thanks, Sean. So yeah, so Digby, if you're happy, yeah, that was a great presentation. It was very useful. I think Bronwyn may have got. Bronwyn, did you have a question or comment?
No, I was just got a comment. What they're basically asking for is a letter of support from the community board to go to other funders to help the process along.
Yep, and if we can, this part of the meeting isn't a decision-making area of the meeting, so we'll can include that in. We'll pop that into our meeting somewhere, and I'm sure we can provide that for you. Now, who does it need to go to if we do it? Go to yourself, Digby, or who?
Yes, please. Yep. If you make it to the Tuaca Combined Sports Society, and if you send it to my email, that'll be great. I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, that's lovely. Thank you. That's great. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or is that we've covered off everything for you tonight?
No, that's summed it all up. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you. And that's Jason. You've got all the information. Yeah.
I guess just with the letter of support, if you do decide to do one, so I've written a letter of support, sort of tying in the council's 2070 strategy and highlighted the blueprint prioritisation. But from you guys, it would be really great, some sort of impact on your community that this provides, and that gives just a different lens. And then we're hoping, if possible, to get in touch with someone in Mana Whenua, perhaps if they're users of the site, to give a little bit of a support letter to, which we haven't got to yet. But we just think if we can report on those different levels to the funders, it's going to tick a lot more boxes for them as well. So something to consider.
No, that's great. And Sue, you've got your hand up.
It was just a question for Jason on that. What's the timing around that, Jason? Because that would have to be something that the board as a whole or the majority approved. So there'd be a process we might have to go through an off cycle or to the next meeting if that was something.
Digby would probably agree. We're still getting together quotes, and we're just having preliminary meetings with the funders at the moment, just to sort of introduce them to the project. So we don't need that or anything. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
You're on mute, Caroline.
Oh, those pearls of wisdom didn't get heard by anybody.
No.
I'm just saying if there's no one else to present to our public forum tonight, that brings us to the end of our public forum. So we'll move to the more formal part of the agenda now. So do we have any apologies? I think we're all here tonight. Yeah, that's great. Looking down the list. Yeah. And so I'll move that for the confirmation of the status of the agenda, that the agenda for tonight's agenda for the 26th of, no, it's not the 26th of April, it's for the 7th of June, be confirmed and all items herein be considered in the open meeting, and that all reports be received. Do I have a seconder? That's Sean. Yeah. Sean seconding that. Okay. And all those in favour? Yeah, that's good.
Aye.
And then any disclosures of interest? No. So then we're moving on to the next item, which is confirmation of the minutes, which we have in front of us. Carolyn, yeah, are you happy to
could I just have it noted that I actually had to leave the meeting early because there was no councillor's report. I'd had to leave.
That's right, you did too. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's good. We'll note that. Any other changes to the minutes? No. Okay, I'll move that the minutes be received. Do I have a seconder? Candy, thank you. That's great. So Candy seconded that. All those in favour? Yep, so that's carried. The next one we have is, where are we now? We've done the public forum. The next one we have is the police update. We don't seem to have the police here tonight, so we'll move on to Waikato. So Jenny, welcome. Sorry, Vern, yep. You're on mute.
I actually met with Noel today. He was unable to attend this evening, but so he has asked me to put his apologies in. He is attending the meeting at Pocono in respect to the community patrols, and will report back to us on that to the next meeting.
Lovely, thank you.
Other than that, he had nothing else to report.
Great. So over to Jenny now, and Ash from Waikato with an update.
Thanks, Caroline. Thanks for having us along. Firstly, can I just add apologies from our project director, Chris Smith, who would have liked to attend, but he's got the dreaded lurgy, as do quite a few of us at the moment. So hence the camera off so you don't see me coughing. Ash, did you want to share your screen in terms of the presentation? Because I'll cover the front couple of slides, but I'll get Ash to cover the majority of the talking.
Yep, I can do that. Give me 6 seconds. Is that popped up?
Yep. Thank you. Okay, so just thank you for having us along today, just to give our quarterly update. This slide here is just a synopsis of that we've used before, just in case there's anybody new watching. Obviously, it's a $655 million project, supports growth in the area and throughout to North Waikato as well. It'll be an additional lane in each direction, wide shoulders for future bus services between Papakura and Drury, and an extension of the southern path from Papakura down to Drury. And it's been consented in 3 stages and constructed over the next 5 years. Next slide, please. So just these 3 project stages. The first stage is the one that's in construction at the moment. So that's the only one that's been constructed at the moment. The other ones will be sort of future-proofing route protection. But stage one itself is split into 3 sub-stages, of which stage 1A, the green, is under construction at the moment. Stage 1B1, which is the orange, was consented last November, and we've actually started early works beside the railway line at Drury Interchange. And stage 1B2 hasn't been consented yet. We're still going through that and expecting to lodge that in the first quarter of next year under the Fast Track Act. So that's just a brief synopsis of the stages, and I'll hand through to you, Ash. The next one.
Yeah, thanks Jenny, and thanks everybody for having us back. As mentioned earlier, I'm the project manager for the construction from Fulton Hogan. So just going to give everyone a bit of an update now with, I suppose, the works that are happening on site that you may have seen if you've driven through the job recently, and then I suppose what's coming up. Happy to take questions, so either put your hand up or we can take them at the end. So just, I suppose, to give everyone, Jenny's already touched on the staging, but that photo there's a great photo for the length of the job I'm talking about. So the section in construction, stage 1A, is from just north of the Papakura interchange down to about the BB service centre just south of the Park Estate Bridge. So that's the piece I'll talk about today. So a fair bit going on. We've had a good month or 2 of progress, and just sort of touching on some of the key points. We've started installing the slip form concrete medium barrier. So if you've driven through the job, we've started from the southern end heading north, and we've got about 1/3 of that in so far, and that's continuing on a nightly basis. The noise walls are progressing. So the majority of them are up. It's probably about 80%. And the last of the panels will be completed over the next sort of month and a half, and then following which we'll look to start putting some colour up. Southbound pavements are continuing. So you can see in this photo here sort of a decent width of widening on the southbound between the existing road and the new noise wall. That's progressing, and much the same as the northbound windings. On the northbound side as well, we actually have a lot of retaining walls that are currently getting built. A little bit hard to see if you drive past because they're actually below window level of the car. But there's a lot of progress happening there, which I think we might have a photo of in a minute. And then it just says there the last point around forward works underway to build a second southbound on-ramp at Beach Road. So as part of the design, there's a new southbound on-ramp coming in. If you can see my cursor, it's coming, you probably can't, it's coming in just south of Beach Road there, adjacent to that sort of triangle of widening area. There's been a heap of progress during the month down at Park Estate Road. And so I suppose the first milestone which we achieved was we switched traffic onto the new half of the bridge that we completed on the 15th of May, Sunday the 15th of May. And that basically allowed us to demolish the old bridge on Saturday the 21st of May, which hopefully people saw the communications for, quite an extensive campaign regarding. And I think we've got a couple more slides, but managed to bring that bridge down and open the road in about 12 hours, which was 2 hours ahead of plan. With the bridge gone, we are now starting to pile for the second half of the bridge. And since we've demolished the bridge, we've actually completed the 2 central piles. And if you drive through the job now, you'll see reinforcing cages sticking out of the ground. And then, yeah, obviously that's leading for us completing the second stage of the bridge and having Park Estate Road open to 2 lanes of traffic by the end of this year. And amongst all of that, there's a heap of service relocation works and service works happening on Park Estate Road. So this is just a photo of the demolition that happened on the Saturday night. So we had 4 50-ton machines there mechanically braking, and we had a 5th one there on standby. And basically demolition started, physical demolition of the bridge started about 8:30 and was completed by about 2 a.m. And then the balance of the night was spent picking up all the debris. And the road was handed back to the traffic managers or traffic management team by about 6:30 in the morning, and successfully opened by about 7. So I just see Jenny's got a note there saying that there is a video available if time permits.
What I might do is I'll put the link to the video and to the time-lapse video in the chat if anybody wants to see it at a later time, and that way we won't take up any of your time there. So I'll just put that in the chat.
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. And just noting, I think there's been quite a bit of comms from Waikato on this. So if you go online, you'll find a few things in addition to the link Jenny's posted. A little bit further south at the Jury Interchange. So in addition, I suppose, to the area of work that I showed you earlier on in the screen, we have also made a start on 3 bridges which are going to span the Kiwi Rail lines, so NIMT, North Island Main Trunk Line. And this is getting ready and being built now in front of the electrification of the Kiwi Rail works. And so there's 3 bridges which are going to start popping up out of the ground there over the coming months. At the moment, what you can see in the photo there is, I suppose, the enabling works in Cracker Reserve. And we've also got some of the steel on site for the piling. And we're just continuing those enabling works with piling of those 3 bridges due to start and probably end of July. So there'll be a lot of activity happening down around the Jury Interchange. However, it's all offline and won't have an impact on traffic at this stage. So yeah, a lot happening down at the Jury Interchange as well. And then what's coming up, which I suppose everyone's interested in, obviously the works are continuing. Our completion date is October next year. However, our next big traffic shift we're getting ready for is once we have the central median completed, and we'll shift all the traffic in against the completed concrete barrier in central median, which will then open up a bit more real estate on the outside for us to tie in the works as needed. And so currently that traffic shift, moving all the traffic in towards the completed median, is planned for late August this year. Unfortunately, the night works will continue up until that point because it's the only way we can safely access the central median site. But once we have the traffic in against the middle, the number of night closures will reduce moving forward. Just the last comment there, we are getting ready to plan a couple more community open days. And so there's one scheduled for Papakura on Saturday, the 18th of June.
Just on that, with the venue, sorry, we didn't have it at the time of that. The venue's the old Central School in Papakura at 57 Wood Street, starting at 11 o'clock actually. It's more about the sort of the progress of construction at the moment, rather than so there's just the one planned at the moment in Papakura because it's more focused on the construction works affecting that immediate community. But everyone's welcome to attend, of course, and we'll be sort of putting out notices about that.
Thanks, Jenny. And I think that's the 1A construction update. So I will hand back to you.
Thank you. Just in case it confused anybody, what Ash was talking about before about construction being it's due to finish next year, that's on stage 1A. Of course, the stage 1B1 where construction has already started at the Drury Interchange and stage 1B2 here, the construction on those will roll in together. So when I spoke at the start about it being designed and consented and constructed over 5 years, that construction won't be finished next year. That's on stage 1A. The construction will be well underway on stages 1B1 by that point next year. So stage 1B2 update, this is the bit that's not consented yet. So and this is a bit shown in the photo here that's either side of Utuwairoa or Slippery Creek here. So there's a site of cultural significance on both sides of the motorway here. So that's why we separated it out for consenting purposes, just to take additional time to work through with mana whenua. In terms of it, because it's quite a short stretch, we're going through another round of landowner meetings, actually just started today, with the landowners involved in this section before we lodge the consents, which is expected in the third quarter of this year. And yeah, again, under that Fast Track Act. Next one. Stages 2 and 3 out to Bombay. These are sort of not part of the project under construction, but the longer term route protection project to just sort of protect the area for widening needed for when the time's right and the funding's there to build it in the future. So we've updated the landowners involved there, and we expect to be going to see them in July and August about where the design's up to in that area, and expecting to lodge the consents for that, or sorry, not the consents, lodge the notices of requirement for that in the first quarter of next year. Because it's notices of requirement, that'll just be a normal under the RMA, not a fast track, obviously, since we're not constructing it as yet. Next one, Ish. Just a brief update on the Bombay interchange. I mentioned it last time I was there, that we've been looking at doing something there after concerns were raised by the Franklin local board and the community. So our investigations have showed that signalisation is the best solution here. It doesn't solve all the problems until those longer term upgrades to basically double the Mill Road Bridge across the motorway. But in the meantime, signalisation will certainly resolve a lot of the safety issues there, even if it can't resolve all the queues all the time. So we've been working in conjunction with AT and BP to look at that, because part of that would be involving the BP exit too, because that's another big issue there. So we've come up with a concept design that was shared with the local board and the local community group, and our next steps on doing that are doing a topographical survey, because our concept design's only been based on an aerial, and review the existing underground utilities and the stormwater treatment requirements, depending on how much the pavement's widened there. So we can use that to inform the likely cost of the project, so that then we can make a bid for funding on that. So that's just where we're up to with that. And I think that's us really. I mean, just the next one, those are just the project contacts for anybody who wants to get in touch with the project team, and also the site office there at Tegel Road in Drury. Because we're still under the orange traffic light setting, everybody's welcome at the site office, but they'll just need to call ahead, please, to arrange a time given the orange traffic light setting. But otherwise, I think that's pretty much.
That's great. Thanks, Jenny. Yeah, no, lovely. Thank you. I'll just see if we've got any questions from anybody. But yeah, no, it's looking good. I'll drive past it a couple of times a week, so it's good to see the progress happening. Any comments from anybody? No. And I have to say that bridge going in and out happened all very smoothly. It's going to work one night and the motorway was closed, and in the morning it was all open and the bridge was back up again, so that was good.
Yeah, we don't normally do a closure on a Saturday night, but we needed that extended time frame with the least traffic disruption possible. So yeah, we planned that months ahead.
It didn't help just after the around the time you closed it, there was also an accident, I think.
I know, because I was going along I was there on the night, sticky, sort of not sticky beaking, but effectively sticky beaking, because it was, I mean, that's the coolest thing. It's, it's my best work story ever so far. So I sort of left home to get in that, and I was stuck in the queue for a while thinking, ooh.
Yeah, that's right.
It cleared up not too bad after 9:30.
Yeah.
But
that's right.
And just to let you know, we will also be updating the Pōkeno Community later on this month as well, with a similar update to this. So if we see any of you out there as well, I'm not sure yet whether that'll be in person or online. We'll just go with the flow, whatever that is. But yes, thank you for having tonight online, because I wouldn't have been able to come because I'm isolating at the moment. So it's
oh well, hope you get well soon.
Yeah, thank you.
No, that's great. All right, thank you guys. So we'll move to our next agenda item, which is 6.3, which is the Community Board Charter Review. So this was an item that I've asked if we could have on the agenda, because we've been keen to review it before we finish this term of council. So we've got the there, and I see that the council staff will be seeking feedback from all 5 community boards. So Sue, do you want to just tell us we probably don't want to discuss it in depth tonight, what the feedback time frame is. Actually, I'll just move that do I need to move the item, or we've
Yes, you probably do. Accept the do we need to accept the report, Grace?
Yes.
Yeah. Yep. So you move the report.
Yep.
Report be received.
So
I think.
Move
yeah.
that we accept the report. Yeah.
Yeah. So Gayleen is here probably.
Do I have any second?
Oh, sorry.
Great. Do I have a seconder for the report? Great, Sean. Thank you. So Gayleen, over to you.
Yeah.
Yep. Sorry, we didn't actually have to receive that because that's the confirmation of status of agenda items when you're just receiving all your reports. It was only if you were going to put a resolution on the feedback and everything like that. What I suggest is you've got a couple of months. I mean, you know, the elections are in October the 8th. We'll have a provisional result on the 9th, and it's actually the mayor's role to set out a terms of reference and governance structure at the time of just after the elections and everything like that. So that's what it'll be feeding into.
Yeah.
So if I could have the feedback by August, I guess, so that I've got time to prep it for whoever our new mayor might be.
Yes. Cool.
Okay, I see Sean had his hand up. Sean?
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, I think without going into the detail of it all, you know, for me, the concerns around is how actually do those roles and delegation, for example, actually be given effect. Yeah, it's probably more how we get these things done more than what the individual things are. Yeah, is my main comment.
I think it might be useful if we have, as a community board, have a workshop one evening and just run through it in detail, and perhaps anybody want to email points before the workshop, and then we go through it as a group and come up with some feedback on it, because I think it is an important piece of document that we do want to provide feedback on. So I think if I'll move a recommendation that we organise a workshop to workshop this and collectively gather our thoughts on the feedback to be provided. Right. Yeah. So we're just to organise a workshop to discuss feedback on the charter. Cool. Yeah. Has anybody got any other points they want to add tonight, or we'll save all our comments for the workshop? No. Well, okay, that's good. So I'll move. Yep, Sean.
Sorry, only that we should probably have someone or some people from council themselves to assist with that.
Yep. So that would be.
Yeah. Just let me know when it's going to be, and I'll make sure we've got the right people there. If it could be by Zoom, it's probably easier, but if you'd prefer to do it in person because it's a workshop, I understand, but it would be easier if it was Zoom. Then we're more likely to be able to get a couple, maybe myself and one other person, someone like from the democracy team maybe who can assist with the discussion. Yep.
No, that would be great. No, very good. All right, so we've got that noted. All right, so I'll move that recommendation. Do I have a seconder?
Aye.
Great, Bronwyn, thank you.
You're welcome.
Right, so we're moving on to the next item, which is the Works and Actions Issue Report. So we've got
So Caroline, what I was going to say, I've tried to tidy it up a bit because it was kind of starting to get really, really long. So what I've done, and I hope you don't mind, I've taken out some of the older conversation that was in each of the items. So we can always refer back to it through previous agendas if we need to. So I've just tried to keep maybe the last two significant pieces if they're needed to give a bit of context. I've also tried to be very clear where we're waiting for something that might not happen till September or October, so that we don't need to dwell on it at each meeting. we can just say, right, yeah, no, that one doesn't need to be addressed till September. We can move on to the next item. So I'm just trying to get it a little bit, I guess, bit smarter, so we're not going through every item every time. And then a number of these items have now also moved into the project space and community projects. So, you know, the project updates that we get at the end of this list of actions. So I have also referred to that rather than making any commentary on the action register. I've put, please see the project community projects update, I think, which is that next little part with the photographs and things like that. So that was just to try and put in context how I've just had a go at it, but any feedback is appreciated.
No, you've done a great job, Sue, because when I read it, I thought actually the layout and everything was done really well. And it was, like you say, it was really clear about when the next update is. So, no, so that's very good. Thank you for that. That makes our job a lot easier. So that was appreciated. If I just go through these one at a time, and I'll just keep an eye out for hands up or anybody just quickly make a comment if there's any points they want to raise until we get to the ones where we do need discussion. So number one is lighting at Port Waikato. So it just looks like there's a report it's been received and been finalised. So Carolyn?
Yeah, I can probably speak to that. I've spoken to Ross Bayer, who indicated he had viewed the report but hadn't received it in its entirety. Basically, confirming what we suspected and that the lighting doesn't meet the national standards up at Port Waikato. The fact is, however, there is no money in the LTP to improve the lighting up there. And also, if we look at placing strategic lights, it still will have to go out for discussion with the community, because we know in other areas of subdivisions where residents are actually wanting those lights removed. They don't want them to be too bright and light. So, yeah, I haven't seen the report myself, but it was going to be forwarded to me.
I presume it will be on our next agenda or a summary of it with this action point. So we probably don't need to dwell on it any longer tonight.
I'll request that as an action for the next meeting, that if we could just have an executive summary, then there might already be one at the beginning of it as well. But yeah.
Right. No, that's good. So number two is the George Street Buckland Road corner. So that's to remain on this action list, but it doesn't look like there's work doesn't look like it's going to start the last financial year. So it's looking like it's likely to start in October, November. Any hands up on that one? Anybody want to comment? No? Okay, let's move. Number three is the speed bend on Jellicoe Avenue. There's no service request being logged for that one yet, but from the April meeting, the staff were going to investigate options. Are they still waiting for the service request? Or
yes, they're waiting for the service request. Yeah, because that was the actual action. We were just waiting for a service request, and then they could activate an investigation into it.
Yeah. So that's a service request is from us, isn't it? So Bern, when was that?
I think the one Bern or some. Yeah, I think it was Bern.
Yeah, just on that, it's just been a question of getting from the village the report that I wanted, so that I could lodge that with the service request.
That's right. There was an attachment. Okay. Yep. Cool.
Right. So the other next number four is the Tuaca swimming pool and the update in the community's project update. So that's separate, so we can move on from that point. Number five is the Tuaca Youth Centre building project. So we've got quite a few bullet points there from April.
And there were no updates for June, so it hasn't progressed anything more. No.
Any comments? No hands up. Bronwyn, you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine. I think Jason has been in contact with them, which is a bit later on in the report. It's saying that he has been discussing things with them. I'm still in the loop of with the leader, or no, what is she? The coordinator for the group. So her and I have a chat every couple of weeks.
Great, that's good. Number six is the rubbish in the Tuaca CBD. So there's no further updates until July, August. So we can move on to the next one.
Excuse me, Caroline.
Yeah.
Could I go back, please, and make a comment on the youth centre?
Yeah.
part of the process of where we are currently with the Tuaca Emergency Services Centre is I'm working with the police, who in turn are working with the youth group on the older sector of the youth, and they are looking at being able to do some separate activities. So I'm working with them as well with Gavin Benson at council on a separate building, perhaps to be housed on the site. It's a big perhaps, but we are working in that area of just beginning some discussions.
No, that's great. Then when you've got that a little bit more confirmed, we can add that to this agenda item. So that's good. So number 7 is the St Stephen's Road car park. So the detailed design by Tonkin and Taylor continues, and I presume that will be reported when completed. So got no further
and I think there
that.
are some, I think they've combined parking report and the community project. So there are some further updates in there as well. Yeah.
Yep, right. Number 9 is the West Street car park. So the design team has discussed the issues with Sean, and we look at what can be accommodated along with the light body reserve and St Stephen's car park contract. Sean, did you want to provide any further update on this one?
Not really. That really covers it. I'm awaiting further information. Discuss bus stops and those sorts of things on. And yeah,
great.
We await further information.
No, lovely, thank you. So number 10 is the Port Waikato blueprint. So they've done so we've got a little update there for this month. So done a questionnaire, and yeah, Carolyn, you're going to update us on that one.
I could probably speak to that. So the drop-in session is scheduled for the 21st of June, which will be from 3 till 7 o'clock at Community Hub. Basically, that will be presented to the community, the staff, and not encouraging any innovations, but asking if we've got it right.
No, lovely, thank you. That's great. Number 11 is the upgrade of the Tuaca domain toilet. So we've got an update there. So they're going to be upgrading the domain toilets, and that links in with the request from Alexandra readout for toilets there. So any update, Bronwyn? Are you all right with that one? Because I know you're involved in that one.
Yeah, fine. As long as it's happening.
Everybody else happy? Yeah, that's right.
So it's basically the further update will be in September. It's down the bottom there. We're just looking, obviously waiting for the new financial year for consideration on funding.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then
number 12 is the Buckland Road Development Park. So we've got see update and communities project team update below. So is that that in the April bit, or is there
there's an update down below in the community projects part for that. Yeah.
Right. No, that's good. All right. Number 13 is your Liverpool Street car park. So there's no change there. 14 is a review of pedestrian crossing in Tuaca. We've got no, that's to remain on the schedule, but we've got no, do we know where we're going with that one?
That's Fern.
Are we waiting on a review, somebody to review the
Yes,
crossing?
from Julie Halligan was to provide us a written report based on the fact that she is positioned right there at that area. I'll follow that up with her.
So who's Julie? Is she a resident or?
Julie is a resident who has had issues there and looks and assists elderly across that intersection over on the speed hump. Yeah.
Right. So that will go, once you've got that report, that goes to Sue, then Sue can get staff to follow up on that one. That would be great. 15 is the Onewhero Village surveillance cameras. So we've got so there's no budget to install CCTV cameras in Onewhero. Yeah, so the current work program for CCTV is expected to take at least 2 years to complete. We got Jonathan. Yeah, Carolyn.
Yeah, I'll just make a comment about that. So at the weekend, there was another incident in and around the village whereby boy racers have intentionally destroyed number of public and private property. The reserves, they've done wheelies and skids and caused quite a bit of destruction, basically. So I've spoken to Noel Foster this morning, and I was going to raise this as my report, but probably pertinent to it now. I've spoken to Noel Foster this morning and community member Rosemary Costa, and we've arranged to have a community meeting with the police present, Noel present on Monday at OSPA, 7 o'clock. So whilst obviously the video cameras would probably be helpful, if they're not available, we're going to be discussing more of a collaborative approach with the police, the community and WDC about what can be done. There's a suspicion that it could be somebody local or associates of somebody local, but obviously, yeah, it'll be discussed on Monday at the community meeting.
It's Monday the 23rd.
Monday the 13th at 7 o'clock.
Oh, sorry. Yes, 13th. Sorry. It's on Facebook.
Okay, no, that's good. Thanks for that. Jonathan, did you want to add anything to that one since it's in your local area?
No, we'd just like to see them stopped. I mean, they keep coming up down the end of our roads. I mean, Rosemary and I are quite close, so we can normally hear them down the far corner quite easily. The problem is the minute you go and jump in your car and try and head down there, they just disappear. And so nobody, you can't catch them unless somebody's got something floating around. I mean, even one of our neighbours' letterboxes were knocked down by the look at last night as well. So it's just, I've had a few friends that have said they've tried to jump in cars. I jumped in mine the other night when we heard them a few weeks ago, and by the time you get to the corner, you can see them turning around and disappearing. So it's very difficult to catch them.
Yeah, just watch your own safety. Ben?
Again, this was part of the conversation, Madam Chair and Caroline, when I met with Noel this morning, as we're doing the application for further funding for the number plate recognition replacement cameras. And I just wondered, Jonathan, whether you guys have made any follow-up to Cornerstone Security, who do all of the cameras for the Waikato District Council area, and whether Andrew should be invited to this meeting on Monday night, as he works very closely here with Noel and the police overall, and council in general. Have you talked to him, had any discussion at all?
Don't know. I have not heard of how that works for that.
Okay,
so I suspect Noel would probably be the one who's going to tell us about that on Monday, I suspect.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll
I mean, I think most people have tried to try and catch them as such, not to catch them, but to just get some sort of photo of them heading off so we can identify the cars. And that's
well, we might have the cameras that we could use from here up there. Would you like me to be in attendance next Monday night because of the work that I do here through with the police and council in regards to the cameras?
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's great. Thanks for that. So, so that sounds like there's got the police involved and things will be moving on there. So the next one was a review of the community board charter, which we've already covered off on tonight's agenda. And then 17 is the proposed road name list, which we have on the agenda as well. Now, it does say there's a copy of a draft report and information is emailed to the following people with their information were listed there. So, and we've got a copy of that road naming policy attached. So that would seem reasonable. Yeah, because if the draft report comes to the chair of the board, then that can be shared with the committee. So that seems reasonable. And also it goes to local iwi as well and the ward councillor. So it's ticked off, it covered everybody and the developer. So that's great. Anybody got any points on that one? No. Okay. Thank you.
Caroline, sorry, there was one thing on their action 2. The board is to hold a workshop on road naming. Are you still going to proceed with that, or should I just close this action off?
Do we want to hold a workshop on road naming? The list is pretty comprehensive, actually. Has everybody had a chance to look through it? It was on our last agenda of road names.
Because if everyone's happy, we can just close this one off. We can take it off the list. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy. I don't know about everybody else, but yeah, I'm not getting any hands up, anybody seeming, so I think we can take it off the list.
Cool.
So
yeah, excellent.
Yeah, no, that's great. That worked really well tonight, going through that list
Cool.
like that. That was brilliant. Carolyn,
There's
you had
just,
your hand?
sorry, there's just a few updates in the community projects underneath as well.
Yeah, yeah. So we've Carolyn?
Can I just have confirmation before we move on to the project that we actually include the Rebecca Bill's information around the Onewhero school matters, safety issues, road safety issues?
Yes,
Perfect.
yeah, yeah. I've got that on my list, and Grace will have that on hers, so we'll add that on as a new one. Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. So we're moving to the community projects team now. So we've got an update on the Sunset Beach toilet. Anybody got anything? No. The Maraetai Bay car park and playground. It's really good to see all these things happening. Tuaca skate park. No.
Sean.
Sean, you're right with that. Sean might have frozen, I think. No, he's there. He's moved now. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. No, all going here. Thank you.
Yeah. Great. The Tuaca Aquatic Center. No, so we've got a good update on that one. It just shows how good the reports are that we've got no questions. The car parks, so the Tuaca contract, we've got the Light Body Reserve car park there, St Stephen's car park, West Street car park. Yeah, everybody happy with those?
Yep.
Good.
So we should continue to get the updates on those through this process as the work progresses. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. The Buckland Road Development Park. So there we go. That's there. So there's engagement happening at the moment, which is great to see. The Harrisfield Bridge replacements are planning an investigation phase, Light Body Reserve court surface, that's in the planning stage, and the Tuaca Hall flooring recoating. Any final points on any of those? That's great. That actually shows the amount of work that's happening locally. So that's brilliant. Sean?
Yep, just going back a couple of steps there. So it talks about these preliminary designs, for both the Aquatic Center and the parks. But when do we actually see them?
My understanding how they're approaching these things is they're just getting like draft designs or concepts done, which then become the discussion or the talking point, so that you've got something to actually work on or consider. And I know we've passed quite a bit of information onto them with some suggestions around the various car parks. So one would hope that that information that has been passed on has been considered in the initial design. And then I think then it gives you something concrete to work with and give feedback on. Yeah,
certainly like the Aquatic Centre one, it does say with the sketches for review by council in June. I see council's reviewing it. It would be good if as a community board we could see that one as well, because it is very much something dear to the community board. And then if suitable, these will be developed into concept options and provided to the community for review in June, July. So I'm just wondering if as a board we can see those designs before they go out to the broader community.
I probably would think it's actually, I would say it's more relevant for the board than it is for council. But yeah, I'll follow that up one. Grace, have you got that as an action in there that we can add in? I'll make sure that happens.
Right. And Carolyn,
so I'm assuming, sorry, was that the one where yourself and a couple of the other board members met?
Yeah, myself and Sean, and I think Jackie and Stephanie are involved as well.
Right.
Sean?
So hopefully they've taken that information on board and it will, be included, whatever discussions you've had. One would hope that you'd be able to see some of that in the concept, the design concept.
Yeah, great.
I'd just add that, there was quite a number of user groups or interested parties attend those things, but we don't, because we're not a formal group, we're not included in those draft discussions. So it'd be great if we could be.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, we should be. Not could be, should be.
We've been asked questions and we've given our ideas, but if there is a draft proposal that's already been done, I think it should go back to that user group.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the more engagement there is, the better with these things. Yeah. Yeah. Carolyn?
Just another project that actually hasn't been mentioned that is in our pitch is the Tuaca car park and the playground, significant playground upgrade as well. So the concept design for that has actually gone out to key stakeholders in the community. Works have already begun on the driveway in the car park in front of the rugby club. There was just a few little technical hitches, I think, with staff, with contract workers going off sick, but unfortunately it's not going to be completed before the big rugby game out there, but they're going to get it to a point where hopefully the parking is better than what it normally is. So that's exciting for Tuaca.
No, that's great. Thanks for that, Carolyn. That's good. So we'll add that one so we can get updates on that
I'll
one.
get them
No,
to
that's
add that
great.
in. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Is there any final comments on anybody on the community projects? Everybody's happy? No, and thank you, Sue, for those very good updates. They're great. Sean?
I only just had one comment and it would go in that space, but I just, when I was reviewing the minutes earlier, you know, some of those actions I feel aren't necessarily making it forward onto I'll find an example. So road naming's been covered. Actions around the speeds and local maraes, operating speed to Tuaca Bridge, Port Waikato. Yeah, there was just a few items there that I just wondered weren't coming through.
Some of those I'm assuming had been closed off. I wasn't at the last meeting because they'd gone as far as they could, or they were no longer, because the speed bylaw, the whole speed bylaw process was
been and done,
completed. Yeah.
And also in respect of the speed limits around Marae, there was a discussion that when we undertake the next review, that would be included then.
Yeah. So some of those will just get closed off, Sean, if there's no further action. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. But let me know if there's any that you, I know that I know about that one, but if there are any others that you're concerned about, just flip me an email and I can have a look back and just make sure we have closed them off, or there isn't a way forward. So we just have to, some of the ones where there isn't a way forward, we've just parked them. And we can do that. But if there's inevitably not going to be much of an outcome for the next 2 or 3 years, then you debate the value of continuing to have it on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was a couple we removed last time because we'd taken them as far as we could, and it was really waiting for agencies outside of our influence to or opportunities. Yeah. No, that's good.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. So if everybody's happy with that one, I'll move on to the next. Oh yeah, Bronwyn.
Just one thing. Looking at the hall flooring and that, can we have somebody meet up with myself and somebody else and we discuss the kitchen? So it really does need a bit of an upgrade.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one,
Bronwyn. We'll put an action list on there. We do have a new halls officer who's dedicated to working with halls, so she will be making contact with all the various people who work with or have touch points with the halls. So
it would be really good. It's just like the benches need a bit of an upgrade, and just needs a bit of a zhuzhing would be the good word to use.
So it's yourself, Bronwyn, and anyone else?
And anyone else that wants to come along. Yeah.
Okay, Vern. Bronwyn and Vern.
Sean knows a lot about.
And I think
kitchens.
some of the cupboards Bronwyn could do with some additional stud. I think they could do with some additional studs in them because the weight of all the crockery on them.
It needs a zhuzhing up.
It does. Yeah. Vern, you had your hand up?
Just a quick question following up from our last meeting for Bronwyn from Anzac Day. Sue, you were going to follow up on the fridge. I think that was.
Oh, now that was Miss Tony Whitaker.
Yes. Okay. We don't have an answer on that yet, or has
he did send me a response. My apologies. I'll make sure that I'll just email you out the response rather than adding it to this.
I could do it myself, but it needs it just needs the doors changing.
Yeah.
That's
I'll just find out. I know Tony responded to me after I came back from leave, but I can't remember what he said. So
no worries.
I'll find it and I will confirm with you guys.
Cheers. Thank you.
Right. No, thanks. Can you just give me 1 minute? I just want to shut my door because I'm getting cold. 1 minute. That's better. Right. So we're now moving on to the discretionary funding report. So we've got the report here. Now, before we move on to the actual detail of the report, I'll just Sue and I have been having discussions around because Carolyn had a chat to me, which got me talking to Sue, was around the discretionary funding from because we're now in the new financial year going forward until the election, and because we'll have a split, we'll have 2 boards created after the election, how we do with funding. So our plan, what we've suggested, what we'll do with the funding is as stuff gets allocated, so we'll probably change the way the report's laid out next meeting, is have it notionally allocated so that to show which side of the river the applicants have come from, so that there's a sense of if it's divided up at the end, who's already what's already been allocated appropriately between the 2 communities. That makes sense, does it, Sue? That's what we
it's what we
I think you're going to check with Tony.
So the conversations I've had, there's still no absolute agreement on the whole funding model for boards going forward. That's still being discussed through the funding review committee and presumably will at some point come to Strat and Finance. It has been agreed, obviously, that the Tuaca, the OTCB funds, etc., will need to be split. That will go to our finance area and they will apply a model to that. But what I've talked to finance about is just getting a couple of key principles from the board on what would be acceptable to them. So what I'm talking about is something really basic, like you want it split by population, which is basically 50-50 in the 2 areas. And you want it applied to future funding and the reserves that are in place. So I guess that's the kind of the feedback that we want to be able to give to the finance team when they're putting that funding model in place and applying it to the current reserves that are left and also future any future funding that is received. Okay. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, just as a start of a 10, I guess the Caroline and I talked about the fact that I think the populations are pretty much 50-50 on the mesh block population numbers. And so it seemed logical that that was probably a pretty good starting point to split the reserve at whatever point in time that is done. And the future funding just goes 50-50 as well, if it's on a population basis.
And the other thing we talked about is because the elections are not till October, and then by the time the first council meets, it's getting very close to Christmas, is that between now and then, we'll just check in with our groups that would normally have Christmas events and stuff and make sure that we've given them some surety of like commitments for funding as well if their projects go ahead, so they know they can go ahead with their projects without waiting until the last hour, middle of November, before they know whether
because there will obviously be some commitments in place over that that change in the triennium. I mean, it's the same for any of the council decisions made currently might be authorising or recommending expenditure that might not occur until the next triennium. So it's a perfectly common. I mean, I guess the thing we just need to be cautious is about we're not having a big spendathon, and that all the spending that we're doing is just business as usual, that like we normally would. And that we're just cognizant of that. And I think that mechanism, Caroline, that you suggested, where we just tag whether it's which side of the river it's on for the two new what are they called, wards, that we just keep we are cognizant of that and just make sure that there's no skews either way. So
No, that's great. Now, Carolyn, you've had your hand up, and then there's Bern.
Yeah, just I think before a decision is made on whether we talk about what the split ought to be, I'd like a little bit more certainty on, we say 50-50, but yeah, can we just have a little bit more certainty on that?
Yep. Yeah, no, we can get the exact figures on that. And I would imagine, I was just kind of being generalist, I think probably finance's model would probably be population driven. It might be rounded, but it would be, so if there was a significant difference of a few thousand either way or a few hundred, then we'd obviously take that into account if it was a significant difference in either or. Yeah,
I do remember from the representation review, paperwork, it was pretty even. Yeah.
But are we talking about population or those dwellings paying targeted rate?
It would be.
So they're still working through that.
Yeah. But if your suggestion would be, yeah, that's okay. So what I have said is I will give them your feedback. So if your preference is rated properties versus population, then that's the sort of information I could give them, because they don't have a set funding model yet. That's what they're going to be working on. So if the board's preference is we can make that recommendation to them, or give them that information, like the board would prefer it to be split on rateable properties, or the board would prefer for it to be split on population. I think what we probably, I'm just trying to remember how all the splits were done when we did the whole Franklin Waikato split. And I think a lot of that was kind of population based. But I think yeah, I'm just trying to remember, there were some things maybe that were population, some things that were property based. It is a tricky one, because everybody in the community benefits, even though, you know, like the whole population benefits. And I think, you know, sometimes population based, yeah.
What were the figures in the representation review? Were they population? Just trying to
remember.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember too.
Population, they definitely were, because it's, yeah.
Galen, you've got your hand up?
Yeah, so the representation review is based on population, but the targeted rates based on dwellings.
Yeah.
So, and the funding review, that was actually the workshop I went to, or the meeting I went to the day before last week, and they had this discussion, and they've asked Alison to go away and think about the modelling for it, so that there is sufficient funding put across to the new community board based on, I think it's a mix. And as Sue said, they wanted to get the feedback from the community board as well. One of the issues being is that because the targeted rate is on dwelling and everything, technically what's collected possibly in the rural, what's the new rural and Port Waikato board is actually more around 35-40%, rather than the 60% collected in Tuaca.
So would it be helpful if we got those exact figures out to you guys? And then I think probably just if you could email back what your preferences are. So all we'll be doing is helping to inform the model. And that's really what Alison and I discussed, was just, well, I'm not sure where the board's coming from, whether their preference would be, you know, population or property. So I think if we can get those, we'll get those figures out to you as best we can, and then we'll just ask for some email responses, and we can just CC everybody in, so everybody knows what everybody's thoughts on it are. Would that work? Yep.
That sounds great, Sue. Yeah. That's good. Sean?
Question, if we're in the new financial year, where's our next round of money?
It's 1st of July is our new financial year.
1st of July. I'm just ahead of myself.
You're ahead of yourself.
I'm ahead of myself.
We've still got the whole of year end. I'm thinking, what? No, we haven't even been through year end yet.
No, I just know, so I missed Vern. Vern was patiently waiting. Vern?
We had some discussion, Caroline, in respect to the various projects that I've been working through here with Cornerstone Security, Council, Police, and this includes Onewhero, as we're looking to move some cameras around. Now, I have here at the moment a request from the police. I have one from the museum, and obviously the Tuaca Districts Development Association for the continuation of the security program, basically stages 3 and 4 that we've now been underway with for the last 10 years. And in my meeting with Noel this morning over the increasing numbers of ram raids that are occurring here within our community, this question came up in regards to getting this request from the police to us and the next move. So I just want it noted that for that next meeting or earlier, I will give you the actual budgets for that work that we're looking to see progress forward, which is help from the community and the different organisations all putting something in to contribute as we've done in the past, and the next stage of mural funding. So it does include work across the other side of the river as well. It's just that it's been quietly going on for some time to get it to this completed level.
Yep, and I mean, we basically just carry on business as usual. So just bring your funding applications as you would. You know, all I was making a comment was, let's not have a you know, a big spend-a-thon, but just things that are normally coming through in our day-to-day business, or that we already have commitments for, or that we've already had discussions around. We just carry on business as usual and make those decisions, but we'll keep a good eye on making sure that we're trying to be as even decision making as we can, so there's nobody you know, it doesn't affect the reserve split. You know, it might be that we spend it evenly on both through quite legitimate reasons, but we'll just be a little bit more aware and cautious around that. Yeah.
Bronwyn, did you?
No.
No.
No,
yeah, I think we yeah. The important thing is we don't. Yeah, it's not that. Yeah, like as Sue said, Ben, it's business as usual. So those groups, when they're ready to get an application in, can pop an application in. It's more, I'm just thinking about the timing of our last meeting, and then there's a bit longer delay before the community board will have its first meeting. And that's I'm more concerned about giving a surety that those groups, like for the Santa Parade and Port Waikato, have a Christmas event, just making sure those two groups in particular. And if we want to do the school swimming pool chemicals again, is that they've got some understanding of what funding's available for them, because of just that timing issue. But otherwise than that, groups pretty much can like, you know, would open applications now, just get them in when they're ready to pop them
because
in.
we normally I mean, they come in you know, on a regular basis every year, so and you've got the new funding application form, which is very simple, that they can fill in. So just, you know, if it's the same people that have done it for years with the Christmas, just get them to put it in for the next. I think have we got 2 more meetings? I think we've got because it's every 6 weeks. I think there'll be 2 more before we.
3.
3, is it? 3.
3. We've got,
okay.
3 September. It's our last one.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. No, that's good. All right. So when we move on to the item under discussion tonight, so we've got the updated fund report, so that's good. Finally, good to see that
one of the things too, I was going to give some feedback on our favorite one, the 6th of March 2020 entrance fees at the Tuaca pool for the remainder of the 1920 summer season. I've talked with the new manager in the facilities area, and we've both agreed that we've gone out of our way to try and get Belgravia to invoice us for that, and they haven't. So we're actually going to take that out.
Good.
Because if they don't want the money.
No, good. That's right. More for our community. That's great.
I mean, we're two and a half years down the track. We've been waiting for this.
Well, we can just funding, reinvest it back in the pool, can't we? I mean, we're doing other things on the pool, so it's not as if they're not, you know.
And at the next meeting, I'll do a summary finalisation report for the for the last season. I had meant to do it for this board meeting, but with all the illnesses and things, I didn't get it done. So I will make sure that's all tidied up for the next one.
Yeah. So have we got any questions or comments on the actual report before we move to the application for us to consider tonight? So we've got a application from the Port Waikato Resident and Ratepayers Association to for $900 and it says they're applying for $950 to upgrade their little library. So yeah, I'll take Carolyn.
Look, apologies from both Leah and from Jane, because they actually had a residents and ratepayers meeting tonight that clashed. So they wanted me to actually send their apologies in for tonight's meeting. They didn't ask me to, but I'm happy to actually speak in support of this application. The little library is donated supplies by District Council some years ago, has been well utilised, above and beyond, I think. And it is a definite it adds value to the community, and they just see that having something bigger and a little bit more robust is going to be even better for that book swap. We're talking also about putting a section in there that might allow for children's toys as well, or board games.
Okay, the only comment I had on this application, from their balance sheet, it does look on page 60, it does look like they've got a closing balance on accumulated funds of $23,000, if I'm reading that right. And I'm just wondering, yeah, what that's, if they're accumulating that for a particular reason, because I'm surprised they've come to us for the full cost of the library and not using some of their accumulated funds.
Yeah, they are, the Residents Ratepayers group are certainly active with the erosion, the community erosion group. You know, they're future proofing for what they may possibly need those funds for. They recognise some of the bigger ticket items. They've recently spent their own money on some additional signage as well around the port in respect of no dumping waste, and also some no climbing on the dunes. They are spending their money, but they also recognise that they do need to keep a little bit up their sleeves for any big ticket items that the community need.
Yeah. And just I don't know whether, I think Jackie's still here too, whether you can clarify on the income and expenditure account. They have income from the New Zealand breast cancer and from the New Zealand prostate cancer, but there doesn't look like there's any like outgoings from it of equivalent amount. There's donations going out of 13,000, but it was unclear, yeah, around those accounting lines. I'm not sure whether they were, how come they've got income from breast cancer. That's what I couldn't quite make out.
That I think you have to put, when you do a fundraiser for the likes of the societies for breast cancer and prostate, you have to go through an account, and then it's got to go out of that account to be sent on to the reciprocating funds. So like if we give the Lions Club money to go for the Christmas parade, then they've got to show how much that they've given, they've put towards it, blah blah blah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, that's all right. I did.
Do you see how I mean that?
Yeah, because they have got, like in the previous year as well, there's ins and outs, and I just wondered because it didn't seem, to quite line up. But I mean, we're not. Yeah,
I think they've got to bank it into an account, and then it goes from that account to the funding that they're sending it on to.
It does balance out, Caroline. If you look at 2020, they've got an income of roughly 10,300. and they spent 22,800. They paid out
That's right, yeah.
22,838, and then
Yeah.
so it's almost zero. Yeah,
That's right. I thought it was something along those lines, but it just looked a bit. Yeah, no, that's good. All right. So we'll just open it up for feedback from everybody. Sean?
No, I'd just say I'd be happy to move that funding application is supported.
Yep. I'll second.
Yeah.
I second.
no, that's
I'll do that too.
yeah, you're third. Thanks, Bronwyn.
Yep. I'll third it.
You're third it. No, that's great. I think because they do a lot for their community, did this Port Waikato group. So, and those little libraries are real assets. They're great little things. So, and they do have to be well built and maintained. Otherwise, you don't want water damage getting into them or anything like that. So that's good. All right. So if we've got no further comment, I'll so we've got a mover and a seconder that Sean, it was a full amount?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's all those in favour?
Aye.
Aye. Yep. All those against? No, that's carried. Very good. What's the process now, Sue? Do I let them know, or do you let them know?
We'll just make a resolution here that it's been accepted, and then I'll just have to find out what the new you can let them know that the board has resolved that, and then I'm not quite sure what the next bit of the process is now, but we'll certainly find out.
I have to say, yeah, I'm very impressed, because we just need to make sure it gets through to the accounts people that
I
they
think
know
we will
that
need,
it's been approved. That's all.
I'm not quite sure how it works.
I'm very impressed.
Whether we need an invoice or
no, if we can just find that out, because it's just making sure that they your accounts people know it's been approved. Gayleen?
Gayleen's got an answer.
Yeah, Gayleen's got a hand up.
Yeah. So all of them come through me, actually, through to finance.
Brilliant.
So what we need is an invoice from them.
Yeah.
From the Port Waikato residents and ratepayers. They actually invoice council with those receipts on them, with those things on them. And as soon as that comes through to us, it's paid within a few days. What's authorised, we put the resolution from the board on it and the account that it comes out of.
Brilliant. So how do they, just wondering how the
so we just need an invoice from Leah and them.
Yeah, so it's just wondering how the recommendation gets to finance. You make sure finance have got the recommendation from this board, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
no, that's
we do.
good. Great. Ben?
Gayleen will send that through with the invoice. Yeah.
You actually, we actually have an invoice here in their application, which is from Tuaca ITM for the full amount of $944.17. And it's made out to it's a cash sale invoice for pickup of goods.
Yeah. So but we need the invoice from the people we're paying the money to. So
which would be
the no, we're not paying the money directly.
Well, it might not be
ITM.
ITM. It might be to Port Waikato. It might be to the resident ratepayers group. Yeah.
It is to the residents and ratepayers group, unless they request for it to go directly to ITM.
Yeah.
But they haven't done that. They provide us with their bank account details and everything like that in an invoice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to say this, just to show how efficient this was, I got emailed this application the day before the agenda closed, which was last week, wasn't it? So
yeah,
I think last week.
Thank you, Grace.
yeah, the day before it came in, before the agenda's closed. It's on this agenda, and they're going to be getting notified tomorrow that it's been approved. So that's in under a fortnight. So that's pretty good going compared to the length of time the old process took. So so that's working well. So if anybody else has got any applications, I understand they come to the chair now. So yeah, just get them to complete that application and forward it in as soon as possible. So Vern, those groups you're working with and anybody else, because this is pretty efficient actually. And it's timing. So just as long as it's to us before the agenda closes. So we've got a few weeks now before the next meeting, but actually, that's worked really well.
Do we have a date for the agenda closing so we can do that?
It's usually a week before, the Wednesday before the meeting. So if you aim to get it at least 10 days before the meeting, then you're safe. Yeah, we don't want to be doing them all on the day before. Because if we need a bit more information, it's too late. So if you aim to get them to us at least say a fortnight before their meeting, that would be great. But it worked really well. Straight in and then done. That's good. So that's the formal part. So we've got the updates from the exec. So over to you, Sue.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think what's hot at the moment. This week, just to let you know that this week we're having what we call a Reconnection week with all our staff. So we have roughly about 400 staff at Waikato District Council, and so we've got 4 days this week. So we've got anything up to 100 people coming in each day. And we're just basically doing a reinduction to try and refresh people on our projects, our values, how we all work, upcoming legislation reform. It's a session from about 9:30 in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon. We all bring a plate and share our kai at lunchtime, and today was our first one, and it was pretty successful. And so it's really just trying to get that hum coming back into the offices and getting people, like we're obviously still going to be absolutely working with our flexible working, but there's a lot more people coming back into the offices now. So, and we've got a lot of new people who really haven't met a lot of other people, and who have joined us during lockdowns or, COVID restrictions. And so it's really trying to get them into the fold, I guess. So that's, that's really good. There's a lot of work going on. You can see, you said, there's a lot of stuff happening in, the smaller capital projects around Tuaca. The same sort of things are happening around the district. A lot of things are starting to come together. Obviously, there's been a lot of delays with our capital program and increased costs. Supply chain issues, inflation, COVID, you name it, and that is causing quite a lot of discussion. And obviously, legislative reform is cranking up, so that's going to take quite a lot of our time over the next year, just getting our heads around the RMA reform, the local government reform. Obviously, water reform is moving along at pace. Local government as a whole has actually put a request to government, can we actually slow the pace of reform down? Because not only that, we've got all the, like our resource consents and things like that have not slowed down. They've in fact increased over the last month or two. And so there's no respite in trying to do all this reform work and change, as well as just carrying on with business as usual. There's going to be a lot of councils that really struggle. And of course, we've got real restrictions and availability of recruitment resources until that overseas market kicks in again. So we are finding we're struggling in quite a few areas to recruit, as are most of New Zealand. It's not just us. We've been very successful in some areas, but we are struggling in a lot of other areas. So and the planning and the building areas continue to be really, really maxed out. So particularly the resource consents area. So if you hear feedback from your communities about it's taking too much time, it is, and there is not a lot I can do about it. I've got 5 or 6 of my consent staff off with COVID at the moment, and high numbers of consents, and it's really, really hard for them. The staff are really, really maxed out. So but they're all in relatively good spirits and just trucking on. So that's us.
No, thanks for that, Sue, and we appreciate everything they're doing, because it is difficult times for everybody. And like you say, there's a lot of change and reform happening. So the efforts everybody's making is greatly appreciated, and it is challenging, as you say, with COVID. And
one thing I should tell you about, sorry, a good news story. Though Councillor hasn't had quite the good experience, but everybody else has with our new dog registration process and the customer portal online. It's we put the new portal up and got our all the people who had said that they wanted their dog registrations this time round on email. We got their email addresses, we sent them out the links. Within 15 minutes, we had about 45 completed renewal applications, and by the end of the day, we'd had 300, which is a phenomenal thing. I mean, by snail mail, that would have been a couple of weeks to get that sort of stuff in, and there was no paper. It automatically got logged into our document management system, and you know, it's been such a long time coming. But man, those sort of things are going to make a real difference both to our customers and to our staff. I think we've probably saved, you know, some staff, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours a day at this time of the year, just by that simple little improvement. So yeah, things have really started cranking up, and that portal will be expanded out into all our other online forms as well over the next 6 months. So yeah.
No, that's great. And I got my dog registration form, so I was looking at doing that today as well. So I think, yeah, it'd be great. So the next one is councillors update. So yeah, Carolyn.
Oh, thanks, Caroline. I think my internet's a bit dicky, so sorry if I fade in and out. Look, so I would absolutely have to agree with you. It was a very workable way of re-registering your dogs. I mean, I'm sure mine it'll definitely more simplistic from a consumer point of view to be doing that. So yeah, tick from me. But I certainly support what Sue is saying. Lots going on in terms of reform. It's you're feeling constantly like the rug's been pulled out from under you sometimes. And all this happening clearly in election year. You know, we are fielding, well, I personally am fielding questions from community members about dates for when nominations are open, what can we do about finding more information. And I guess it is somewhat frustrating that we haven't got those maps available to us yet, so people can really see with clarity what ward they're in. Obviously, I'm speaking about Onewhero-Tuakau, little mesh blocks taken out, but we hope to have them in the very near future. There are, I believe, community meetings being arranged to actually start almost like pre-electioning to really determine who those communities want to put forward as prospective candidates, which is great to see. Really, really good to see. People have been engaged with local government politics. In terms of consultation documents, we have, as Caroline circulated yesterday, I believe, the local alcohol policy that is currently out for consultation. So that started on, it opened, what, first or shortly, it must have opened recently and closes on the 1st of July. And there's also the local policy on the reserve management plans. And I'm hoping the documents have all been sent out to our hall committees, because many of our hall committees obviously have those reserves adjacent to them. So they are going to want some to hopefully submit some suggestions and provide some feedback to council. So that policy is actually going out in 2 stages. It's going out for almost a pre-engagement consultation, so to collect some feedback. Then we'll obviously go back out with a draft to say, what do you think about this? So it's a lengthy process, but I would certainly encourage our community members and those vested in those parks and reserves to actually get in now and have their say, and for us as a community board to maybe share some information that we know. In terms of things going on in my patch, obviously the blueprint up at Port Waikato is really, really exciting. It's a great project to be involved in as a blueprint virgin, I guess you could say. It's enlightening for me, but the community are really, really enthusiastic about it. We've seen some fantastic initiatives being proposed. Everybody appears to be on the same page, and it's really nice that whilst we acknowledge obviously the big ticket item of erosion matters haven't taken over what else the community desire. So that's really exciting. And in actual fact, another plus is it was suggested in the first public feedback that around the issue of the boat ramps and the safety at the wharf because of too many cars parking using the boat ramp. And within a couple of days, we had council staff out at the second boat ramp, or the first coming into town, enhancing the parking area. So already we've sort of ticked off one of the items. So that's brought us a bit of goodwill in the community.
Right, thanks, Carolyn. Sue, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, just to add to something that Councillor Eyre mentioned around the local alcohol policy. The consultation that is out at the moment is also a pre-consultation. And then that will be included in the draft policy that will go out at a later date. We're just working through the timeline with the relevant councillors at the moment, but I understand it as from today's discussions, it is a pre-consultation. So there will be another opportunity for formal submissions later. Yeah.
Good. So Stephanie, looks like Stephanie's dropped off for the moment. So I'll go around the community board members, so if anybody's got any updates. Candy, got anything, updates for us?
Yep, just a highlight around the carvings. So they're just about done and ready to go up, go back up. And then I'll working with Sean there on what that might look like and the rest of the board. Kapai. And then I heard us talking about money. I'm not sure we're going to get the invoice paid from where.
I think haven't we got funding allocated for that one? But just check in with Sue on that one, because I'm sure we have allocated funding. Sean?
I just really wanted to say, because well, it winds me up a little bit, but Nuku was supposed to provide us with a quote for that at the beginning.
Yeah, so Nuku got really busy. And if you want a quote, we can get a quote done. So I've sent it back to the original person, Ted Ngātaki, who helped carve that. And so he picked it up to finish it off. So he's going to be doing this. But if you want me to get a quote for that first, I can.
Well, it's just, and I don't know what it costs, but if we get an invoice for $10,000,
I don't think it'll be $10,000.
Wood might not approve it, and then he's done work, and then it's awkward.
Yeah, no, I don't think it'll be that much.
But you know what I'm saying.
No, Ted, I don't
Fair
think
enough,
it'll be
Ted.
that much. Ted's great. Yeah. So yeah, no.
I will. I'll get
take
on call
care
to
of
get something sent out first for us. Yeah,
that would be great.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's me, Carolyn.
Candy, that's great. Thank you. That's great to hear that carving's coming along nicely, and it's lovely to hear that Ted's involved. So say kia ora to Ted if you see him next from me. Ben?
Did we follow, as was suggested from council in the very beginning, that the funding for this process would come through council itself and not the community board, as has been done for all of the other portals and so on like this throughout the district?
I am just noticing that it isn't in our commitment. So we might need to go back through and see if there was any resolutions or discussion around how it was going to be. I do remember having discussions, but I can't remember what the outcome was, because normally we would have, like with some of these other ones, we would have said, well, we'll put $3,000 aside or $4,000 aside or whatever. And we haven't actually got anything in our discretionary funding account for that. So if someone could maybe just check back through the agenda to see what the discussion was. And
well, this was raised right at the very beginning about why use our funds if there's funding available elsewhere.
Yeah, Sean?
I think it's not in the discretionary funding because we don't have any idea of what it's going to cost.
Right. So that was why we needed a quote.
Yeah.
So we could then make a resolution to pay the money.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I just wonder if I just wonder if Grace is able to check back through previous minutes, Grace, and just see if we noted, because there was quite a bit of discussion on it, whether whether we've indicated how it's to be funded. So yeah, that will be good. But we will pay for it one way or the other.
Yeah, we can look back through for that. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
All
but
right,
but in
let's see
future
what's
we
going
shouldn't
next.
we shouldn't
Thank you.
we shouldn't commence work until we have a resolution to say that we're, you know, what it is and how much we're going to pay. That's the that should be the proper practice. Yeah.
No, Kapai, Candy, thank you for keeping that project moving along. Sean, any updates from you?
Unmute. No updates, but a couple of questions. So I've tried to do the local alcohol policy. I have real, and I don't know whether it's just me, but is anyone else having issues with the Shape Waikato? You know, trying to put a submission online. Just always says not available, but it could be my computer settings if no one else is having any issues.
Previously, yes, I have, Sean.
The other thing was around the liquor bylaw. I don't know who's been involved in it, but is there anything around signage? Any restrictions around liquor bylaws for that?
We can have a look at the whole bylaw, Sean, because whilst they're only consulting on one section of it, there's no reason why we can't provide feedback on another section if we've got concerns around signage.
Yeah, I was assuming that link would take me to a copy of that.
The bylaw?
Yeah, the bylaw.
Okay, let me ask the team tomorrow. And I'll check whether we've had any other feedback around, is it Shape Waikato you go through for that, is it?
Yeah. All the submissions go to Shape Waikato and
yeah, okay. I'll check and see whether there's any known issues with that.
Could be me.
We used to have signs up a while ago about along the side streets and that, so you couldn't drink in certain places. We used to have signage up, but I haven't seen any for a while.
They're still there, Bronwyn.
I was more interested, like I know there's a big new liquor store going at the front of it, and we have a 30-foot high super liquor sign at our front door, or is there any restrictions around that?
Yeah.
Okay, I will so it's not the signs about the restrictions on drinking in the streets you're talking about, it's the signs for the actual outlets, liquor outlets.
Which may not be covered under the liquor.
No, I have a feeling it's probably in the public what is it, the public places bylaw, signage, and you know, like where you can put signage and how big it is and all that kind of thing, and that is definitely coming up for review over the next, I think, don't quote me, but I think in the next year we're starting to review some of the public places bylaws. So but I'll find that out for you.
I see we're getting some nice big neon vaping signage and that sort of thing as well.
Yeah.
Well, no updates, thank you.
No, lovely. All right, I'll move on to Bern. I'm just aware it's 14 past 8. I'd quite like to wrap up by 8:30 if we can keep moving. Bern?
I think I've covered everything over the course of the evening.
Great. Bronwyn?
No, just been discussing things with Jay for the youth centre and an up and coming project that she'd like to do that I've told her to get hold of our funding, so it's under $1,000, and I think it'd be really useful for the kids to have.
Yep.
Which is musical equipment, by the way. It's for musical equipment.
Great. No, that would be good. So we'll look forward to that application. Jonathan?
Nothing huge. I mean, we had Ed McVicker came up to the reserve a couple of weeks ago, had a look around. He looks after parks and reserves, sort of, he's a technical support officer, I think he was. And he's organising to get the reserve mowed so we can get that starting to get under control for the summer season coming up. And they'll put that onto he said probably be about 3 or 4 times a year that will be at the stage until we can actually start to develop it a bit further. There's a few things he identified around the reserve which are just maintenance, which they're going to get sorted, which should just fall under their normal cycle, which is fine. And I saw this afternoon quickly Sharon had sent around our they've got been engaging about getting some fruit trees planted up at the reserve as well, which is quite a good idea. So it's just about where, when, and how that's going to happen and so forth. And there were lots of daffodil.
Yeah, it's right time of year.
Yeah, and there was lots of daffodil bulbs planted the other day, or 5,000 of them.
Right.
So and there's a few more bits and pieces kept just around the whole reserve. Ed was pretty good. He actually went around. We walked around the whole thing for a couple of hours, and he sort of pointed out where this should sit or that should sit, or who's the area that falls under. So we got a better understanding of a few things now as well. So so from that perspective, we just got to get rid of the guys that are tearing up the streets now, and that should be fine.
No, great. Thanks, Jonathan.
Cool.
So my update is a lot of it's been liaison since the last meeting with Sue over the discretionary funding going forward, with the discretionary report applications that came in. Also, the other one that went out for consultation, which I flicked around to you guys, was the waste bylaw and trade waste and
trade waste bylaw.
Now I remember the thing that stuck in my mind was around mortuary waste, and so I couldn't see there was anything too significant in that one for us to comment on as a board, but if you do pick up anything, let me know. The alcohol bylaw was much more significant in terms of it, I think, suggesting an increase in liquor stores for communities like Ngaruawahia and Tuaca. So, when I think I put in my email, when you look at that in terms of it can get a bit carried away with itself in terms of liquor stores and the impact on local communities, and particularly its linkage to domestic violence, that we do need to be mindful of. I have previously submitted on proliferation of those alcohol retail outlets, so I'll try and find previous submissions and particularly the background context around it too. So but I'll welcome everybody else's input into that as well. And then there was the reserves one, which I think is the pre-consultation, so we need to be involved in that one as well. That was all the things I think that was it. And we just kept the swimming pool one moving as well. Sean was involved in that. So no, that's been good. I'm away overseas for 2 weeks from tomorrow afternoon, but I'll have my computer with me, so I'll be able to respond to emails. But so and I've been really impressed, as I said, with the way the funding application went, because that will make it a lot more better for local communities to be able that we can respond rapidly to them. Gayleen, you've got your hand up. Gayleen's got an update for us.
Just something that Councillor Eyre mentioned about community meetings for people that were interested in standing. There is actually a candidate information briefing run by council at Pocono on the 30th of June. Even though the nominations don't open until July, that was the only time we could actually get Dale, our electoral officer, and was the 30th of June. So the candidate information briefings, there'll be 4 of them, one in Tamahere, one in Hupu, and the Pocono one, as well as an online session. So they're all being booked in at the moment. So they will go, that information will go out to you once all the venues have been confirmed and everything. But it'll be before your next meeting, so I thought I'd better raise it.
No, lovely. Thanks, Gayleen. Any closing comments from anybody? Anybody want to add anything?
Carolyn?
Yeah.
Carolyn, I've lost my ear. you had your meeting with regard to the Anzac Day, and there's with a couple of people.
I did
just
too.
thought-
Yeah, we touched on that with we've had our workshop since then too. That's right. I knew we'd been done. Yes, I met with the Morris and a couple of guys at the RSA around just an update on just really their ideas on future Anzac parade. So they presented at the last we had a board workshop, but there wasn't that many of us there, but it was actually good because we had a good discussion with them. So it's great to see that there's more people wanting to be involved in the planning for future Anzac parades, and they had some great ideas as well. So I'll be sharing those with the new board chair when they come on board. And no, that was really good. And the other thing we covered off in that workshop was the Nike. The ladies from the Nike swimming pool came and talked to us about their the pool and everything they've got set up at Nike. So that was really nice as well. So I'll just be looking for ideas for the next workshop, who we want to catch up with then. So so that was good. It worked well actually, catching up with a couple of groups. We can probably squeeze 3 into an evening if they haven't got too much to discuss. So that was great. All right, nothing else. Does anybody want to do a closing karakia?
Yep, I will.
Oh, thanks. Ka pai, Candy.
Ka pai, Carolyn. Have an awesome trip, safe journey, and return home. Mihi te everyone. I'm here tonight. Kia tau, kia tata kato, te ata whaia tō tata arikia i karaiti me te aroha o te atua, me te whiwhinga taitanga ki te wairua tapu, ake, amene.
Amene. Ka koutou. Yeah. Lovely seeing everybody. Stay safe. Whilst, COVID numbers are still high. Candy knows this too. COVID numbers are still high. But we've also got the looming flu, which has started early. And there's RSV, which is another respiratory condition, which makes you cough and cough and cough and cough. So stay safe. We're not out of the woods yet.
Safe travels, Caroline.